Have you ever felt your face hold something your mind no longer remembers, as if an invisible burden has become trapped in your forehead, your jaw, or your gaze? A tension you can't explain, but that never truly goes away. It's not fatigue, it's not stress, it's not just worry. It's an energetic door that has remained closed for years. Today, you'll discover the secret point on your face where true self-healing begins. A threshold that, when activated, releases stagnant energy, calms your inner system, and awakens a strength your body never forgot. If you stay until the end, you'll understand what happens within you when this door opens and why the ancients protected this knowledge as a sacred treasure, because the deepest revelation is only understood at the very end. If you're ready to open your energy, write in the comments, "I crossed the door." And if this message is already touching something deep within your soul, you can support this energy by sending a super chat as a conscious gesture to keep this space where wisdom awakens alive. Once in ancient eastern mountains, where the air was so pure you could feel the difference between a clean thought and one heavy with fear, where monks never spoke at dawn. It wasn't silence out of discipline, nor inherited custom. It was an act of reverence for that precise moment when night hands the world over to light, that threshold belonging neither to darkness nor to day, that space between two worlds where the veil's thin and something deeper can be heard. In that sacred instant, they place their fingers on specific points of the face, following invisible maps passed from master to disciple for entire generations. Maps that were never written on scrolls, because they knew true knowledge cannot be captured in ink, only in presence, only in direct transmission from one living body to another. They weren't looking for external beauty. They weren't trying to stop time on their skin. They were looking for something infinitely deeper, to awaken what they called the first mirror of the spirit. That capacity of the face to reflect not just age or the mood of the moment, but the totality of who you are, who you have been, and who you haven't yet dared to be. For them, the face was a living archive, a sacred document written by all the experiences the soul has gone through. Every emotion that was suppressed before it could fully express itself, every word that rose in the throat and was swallowed back, every fear that lived in silence for years, every unspoken love, every unmourned grief was registered as an energetic imprint on the skin, in the muscles, in the deepest tissues of the face. And not just as physical tension, but as a living frequency, as information the body stored with absolute fidelity, waiting for the moment it could finally be recognized and released. They also discovered that beneath the skin, there weren't just muscles and bones, but a subtle network of invisible channels that carried something that wasn't exactly blood, nor exactly nerves, but something the ancients recognized as the current of life, the invisible movement of all that we are beyond matter. These channels connected the face to the internal organs, to the heart, to the deepest nervous system, to the seat of the most archaic emotions that humans carry from their first moments of existence. They called them the rivers of silence, because their language wasn't sound, but sensation. It wasn't words, but the pulse. It wasn't a scream, but the almost imperceptible whisper you feel when something something inside you finally releases what it's held on to for too long. And at the center of this entire silent network, they found a special point that differed from all the others, a point that seemed to act as a crossroads, like a small plaza where all the rivers met before continuing their journey. They called it, when touched with the right intention. Not only did the local tissue respond, but something much broader responded, something that seemed to extend inward into dimensions that ordinary anatomy, a ceremony of silence that lasted 3 full moons. An elder, whose age no one knew for certain, placed his fingers on that precise area, that space residing between the arch of the eyebrow and the start of the cheekbone, that almost imperceptible border between the eye that looks outward and the sensation that originates within. At that instant, one of his youngest disciples began to cry without understanding why. The sadness didn't come from any conscious thought. It was something different, something older, something that came from deeper layers than any memory he could name. It was memory. It was the body remembering what the mind had carefully buried, what it had decided to forget, because at the time it was too much to bear. The teachers weren't surprised. They recognized what they were seeing. They understood that the face doesn't just show who you are today. It doesn't just reflect your mood right now or this week's fatigue. It holds all the versions of yourself you've been. It holds the child who was silently afraid. It holds the teenager who felt shame without being able to explain why. It holds the adult who learned to function without feeling too much. Valued, invisible layers, sediments of life accumulated over the years, strata of experience that overlap one another like the pages of a book that no one has finished reading. And when that point was activated with genuine presence, with pure intention, with the respect that a sacred territory deserves, pain didn't emerge, clarity did, a clarity so profound, expected, so pure that many confused it with sadness because they had no other word to name something that feels like liberation, but arrives with tears. That knowledge was carefully hidden for centuries, not out of selfishness or spiritual greed, but because those who guarded it understood something fundamental, a being who recovers their original expression, a being whose face once again matches their inner truth. They can no longer be easily controlled. They can no longer be manipulated through guilt or fear. They can no longer pretend that everything is fine when something essential inside them is broken. And that has always deeply bothered those who build their power on the inauthenticity. There is a weariness that cannot be cured by sleeping. There is a fatigue that doesn't disappear with vacations or distractions or any of the remedies that the modern world offers. It's the deep exhaustion of a soul that has stopped recognizing itself in its own reflection. For all that it cannot properly, that has become a stranger to itself after years and years of adapting, of yielding, of adjusting to the expectations of an environment that rarely asked what it truly needed. Most people live holding on to expressions that don't belong to them. They have learned to create with their facial muscles an image consistent with what is expected of them, a functional face that allows them to navigate the social world without too much friction. A presentation carefully constructed that says what's necessary and hides what's essential. They smile when inside there's something that wants to cry. They stay silent when inside there's something that wants to be said loudly and unfiltered. They keep their eyes open, their expression neutral, even when there's a pain so ancient inside that they don't even remember when it began. They stay silent when their soul has something urgent to express, something that's been years waiting for the right moment, the right person, the safe space that never quite arrives. And arriving, and the face, faithful and silent, like no other organ in the body, holds all of that. It registers it, incorporates it into its architecture, turns it into chronic tension, into subtle asymmetry, into a subtle rigidity that settles in so slowly that no one can pinpoint the exact moment it happened, until one day the mask stops being something you wear and it becomes something you are. There's no longer a difference between the character and the person. There's no longer any space between what's shown and what's felt. And then the signs appear. That body's vocabulary that speaks when words have been silenced for too long. Headaches that visit with unsettling regularity. A tension in the jaw that won't release, even if they tell you to relax. A gaze that has lost its sparkle, and you can't explain exactly when it happened. A heaviness in the cheeks, in the forehead, around the eyes, as if the face were carrying something the mind can no longer consciously hold, but that the body has never let go of. Something few traditions dared to state clearly. It's not just stress, it's not just muscle tension, it's stagnant energy. It's emotional information that didn't complete its cycle, that was interrupted before it could express itself, that got trapped in the facial tissues like water, that couldn't find its course and turned into a swamp. Every repressed emotion creates an invisible shell around itself. At first, this shell serves a genuine protective function. It creates distance between you and a pain you couldn't process at that moment. It allows you to function. It allows you to move forward. It allows you to survive circumstances that otherwise would have been, but over time, that same shell that protected you turns into your prison. It no longer protects from the outside. It traps you from within. It no longer isolates you from external pain. It separates you from your own vitality, from your own joy, from your ability to be completely present in your own life. Every time you hide your truth, every time you swallow what you feel to keep the peace, or not to bother anyone, or not to seem too sensitive or complicated, a small part of your energy fragments. It doesn't disappear. Energy doesn't disappear. It freezes. It remains suspended in that instant of its suppression, waiting for the moment when you can return to it, recognize it, honor it, and finally allow it to complete its natural movement. Your internal system relentlessly records the difference between what you feel and what you show. It's perfectly aware of the cost of that gap. That cost accumulates in ways we can't always precisely name, but we feel it in inexplicable fatigue, in the feeling of going through life behind a pane of glass, in that vague unease that emerges when silence lasts too long and there's no distraction that can fill it. And one day you look in the mirror, not in a hurry, not just passing by, but truly, and something inside you notices a discrepancy. The person looking back at you from the glass no longer feels completely familiar. Not because you've aged, not because time has passed, but because something essential, something that was always the core of who you are, has been buried under so many layers of adaptation, of silence, of borrowed expressions, that you no longer know for sure where the mask ends and where you begin. That moment isn't failure. It's not a sign that something went wrong in your life. It's a call. It's your soul exercising the last available resort when all previous messages have been. It's the deepest part of your being, telling you with a clarity that cannot be misinterpreted. Return to yourself. Return to your genuine expression. Return to the face you had before you learned it was dangerous to show it. There's a silent law the ancients knew, and that the modern world has forgotten in its haste to explain everything from the outside in. A law that doesn't need to be proven, because it already lives in the experience of anyone who has stopped long enough to honestly observe themselves. What's hidden inside always finds a way to manifest itself outside. It might take time. It might take forms we don't immediately recognize. It might disguise itself as a physical symptom or a behavior pattern, or that feeling that life never quite fits together, but it always emerges. Our body doesn't lie. It can maintain a controlled expression for hours. It can build a perfectly plausible image of serenity or strength or indifference when the complete opposite is boiling underneath. But the truth always
leaks out
in the imperceptible tension around the eyes, in the stiffness that resides in your jaw even when you smile, in that look in your eyes that those who truly know you can read even if they don't know exactly what they're seeing. This isn't weakness. This is sacred biology. The human face is the most expressive organ in the entire animal kingdom, capable of producing thousands of distinct muscle configurations, able to communicate in microseconds what words would take minutes to articulate. That extraordinary ability wasn't designed to hide, it was designed to reveal, and when it's used in reverse, when it becomes an instrument of concealment instead of expression, it pays a huge price. The forehead holds unresolved worries, futures imagined with anguish through entire nights, questions repeated without an answer. The jaw holds the words that rose up and were held back at the last moment, the no's that were said as yeses out of fear of the consequences, the silent screams that found their only channel of expression in the masseter muscle. The eyes hold the hope that was betrayed so many times that it learned not to show itself too much, to avoid being exposed again to disappointment. The cheeks hold the warmth that found no one to offer itself to, or the shame that never fully dissolved, or the joy that was interrupted before it could be fully celebrated completely. All of this isn't aging. It's not simply the passage of time drawing its story on the skin. It's an emotional biography. It's the map of everything you've lived and the way you've processed it or haven't processed it. And here's the revelation that profoundly changes the way you relate to your own face, the understanding that transforms the gaze in the mirror from an act of judgment to an act of archaeology. Your face isn't an archive dead that only holds the past. It's a living portal that can rewrite that past in your body. It can liberate it, It can release what no longer needs to be held. It can awaken capacities that were dormant, put to sleep by the same armor that once served its protective function. Time you place your hands on your face with true intention, with genuine presence, without haste and without an agenda, your nervous system receives a message that goes beyond just tactile sensation. It receives the information that it's safe to lower its guard, that it can release what it's been holding, that there's no threat requiring it to stay in that chronic state of alert that has become the default posture. Your nervous system is extraordinarily sensitive to safety signals and conscious touch, especially on the face, which is the territory most charged with emotional meaning in the entire body. It's one of the safety signals to most powerful that exist. You don't need complicated techniques. You don't need years of training, nor a certified master, nor an instruction manual. You need presence. You need the willingness to truly be where you are with all your attention without dividing it between the past you can no longer change and the future that doesn't exist yet. A hand consciously placed on your own face doesn't just touch skin and muscle, it touches the memory stored in those tissues. And when that memory finally feels seen, finally acknowledged, finally accompanied, instead of suppressed, it begins to move. Its natural process of integration and release begins. At the beginning of this process, unexpected things may appear, heat that arises without apparent explanation, tears that don't come from any concrete thought, but from somewhere deeper than thought, physical sensations that have no name in common vocabulary, fleeting images of old situations, an emotion you can't identify but which you recognize in some obscure way as something that has been waiting for this moment for a long time. It's not weakness. It's not that something is wrong. It's the process of release taking its natural form. It's soul archaeology working in real time on the oldest strata of your emotional history. And as in all archaeology, what emerges is not always what you expected to find, but it's always what you needed to discover. What you're about to do now is not a relaxation exercise, nor a wellness technique, nor a procedure to follow mechanically until completion. It's a reunion. It's the deliberate return to a territory you have inhabited your whole life, but perhaps have never visited with this quality of attention. Find a place where you can be in real silence for as long as you need, not the silence of pausing your phone, the silence of genuinely not being available for anything or anyone else but yourself. Right now, sit with your back straight, but without imposing stiffness on your body. Upright doesn't mean tense. It means willing. It means open. It means your spine can naturally lengthen as if something from above gently invites it upwards, while the roots of your sit bones settle with weight onto the surface where you rest. Close your eyes, not to disconnect from the world, but to connect with the inner world that exists beneath what we normally perceive. Bring your attention to your breath. Don't change it yet. Just observe it, the rhythm it has before your attention modifies it. Notice if it's shallow or deep, if it's regular or irregular, if it comes with ease, or if there's something in your chest or abdomen that slightly limits it. Just observe 3 breaths deeper than the previous ones, without forcing, inviting the body to expand a little more with each inhale and to release a little more with each exhale. With the third exhale, allow any urgency that you've brought here to settle onto the floor. You don't have to solve anything right now. You don't have to produce anything. You don't have to get anywhere. Just be here. Now bring your attention to your face without touching it yet. Just feel. Scan with your internal perception each area as if you were softly illuminating the map of a territory that deserves to be slowly explored. Your forehead, if there's tension there, if there's openness or contraction, if there's warmth or coolness, if there's something that seems to be holding something, your eyebrows, that bridge between your forehead and your eyes, that place where so many emotions concentrate without us being aware of it. Your eyelids, which hold our way of looking at the world even, they are closed. Your cheeks, with all their memory of smiles and tensions and words that were formed but never spoken. Your jaw, that silent repository of everything that wasn't said. Observe without judging, without wanting it to be different from how it is. With the same gentle curiosity you would observe someone you love. Resting, now rub your palms against each other, slowly at first, then with more movement, generating conscious warmth, activating your own energy, awakening the sensitivity in your hands until you can feel the pulse in your fingertips. When the warmth is real and noticeable, bring your palms close to your face without touching it yet, a few centimeters away. Feel the invisible field exists between your hands and your skin. That space isn't empty, even if you can't see it. It is full of information, of resonance, of silent communication between the intention of your hands and the memory of your face. Stay there as long as you need. When you're ready, rest your hands with absolute softness on your cheeks, without pressing, without trying to do anything. Just hold your face the same way you would hold something in your hands. Truly precious, something that deserves to be treated with the utmost delicacy, something that has carried a lot and needs to feel there's a safe place to rest. Breathe 5 full breaths, guiding the inhalation towards the space your hands are holding, feeling how the warmth of your palms melts with the warmth of your skin, how the boundary between who touches and who is touched begins to soften. Now, very slowly, slide your fingers from the center of your forehead towards your temples, following the line of your eyebrows as if you were carefully opening a curtain that has been closed for a long time, not with haste, not with force, with the same slowness that dawn breaks, with the same gentleness with which light finds its way through any crack. Repeat this movement 3 times, each time a little slower, each time with a little more presence. Then bring your fingers to your glabella, that point between your brows, which in countless traditions has been recognized as the seat of deeper perception, a place where ordinary vision and inner vision meet. Press gently, not to eliminate tension, but to acknowledge it, to tell that tension that it has been seen, that it has been recognized, that it can now begin to release. Breathe into that point, feel what's there. If there's a lot, don't be surprised. If there's warmth or pulsation or a pressure that transforms, allow that to happen. You're not breaking anything. You're opening something that was always meant to open. This is the portal, the silent threshold between what you have shown and what you've kept hidden, between the surface of your story and its deepest roots. Stay there as long as you need, without moving, without analyzing, without trying to understand what's happening. Just feel, just allow. Now, gently move down to your jaw, using your fingers on the sides of your face where the masseter muscle lives with all its memory of contained words. Make slow, small circles without seeking a specific result, without wanting the tension to disappear immediately. Simply accompanying that place with your attention and the warmth of your hands. If emotion arises, if something unexpected comes, something you can't name or something you recognize too well, allow it to pass. Don't stop it. Don't analyze it. Don't explain it. Let it move. Let it complete its course. Let your body do what your mind didn't allow for years. When you feel it's time to conclude, bring your hands to the center of your chest, over your heart, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a real connection. Feel the warmth your hands carry from your face to the center of your being. Give thanks, not with elaborate words, with the simplicity of one who recognizes an extraordinary service, silently rendered throughout a lifetime. Your face has accompanied you since the very first moment of your existence. It has held your joys and your fears, your hopes and your disappointments, your love and your pain. It has expressed what you could show and held what wasn't yet time to release. It deserves to be recognized. It deserves to be thanked. It deserves to find in you not someone who examines it with judgment, but someone who inhabits it with love. When this threshold is activated, when the face truly begins to free itself from the accumulation of years of contained expressions, something irreversible is set in motion. Not irreversible in the sense that you can't go back, but in the sense that once something within you genuinely opens, once the door between your surface and depth becomes permeable, you can no longer pretend with the same conviction that you didn't know what was on the other side. It's not always immediately visible from the. Sometimes the deepest changes are the quietest in their initial phase, but they are felt. Something changes in a way that's hard to describe, but people around you start to notice, even if they can't articulate exactly what's different. There's something more present in your eyes, something more real, something that indicates the person inhabiting that body is truly there, not projected into the future or dwelling on the past, but here, now in this specific and unrepeatable. Your breath becomes fuller, without you having to remember to breathe differently. When the body releases the chronic tension it held as its default posture, it finds more space. The lungs expand with greater freedom. The diaphragm works without the resistance that emotional contraction imposed on it. And there's something in the way you breathe when you're not afraid that sends a silent yet unmistakable message about your inner state to everyone around you. But the true power that emerges from this process has nothing to do with appearance. It's not aesthetic, even though your appearance also changes over time. It's internal. It's functional. It's the recovery of an intelligence the body has always had, but which had been systematically ignored in favor of the analytical mind, which insists on explaining everything and being right about everything. You start listening to your body in a new way. A tension you once experienced as discomfort becomes a message. A contraction you once ignored becomes a guide into information about what's costing you more than you admit, about what isn't aligned with who you truly are, about what you're tolerating without acknowledging it, that you're tolerating it. Your face becomes a compass, not in the metaphorical sense that it helps you find your way in life, but in the completely literal and concrete sense that its physical signals inform you about your energy state with a precision no analysis can match. You learn to recognize the difference between tension that indicates that something's not right and the tension that indicates you're growing beyond your limits, previous ones. You learn to distinguish between discomfort that tells you to stop and discomfort that tells you to continue. But with more care, you learn the specific language your body uses with you, that unique, personalized language only you can interpret correctly because only you have access to your complete story. Intuition awakens in a way that might be surprising at first. You'll start to know things you can't explain rationally. You'll feel the quality of a situation before objective data confirms your perception. You'll recognize people who nourish you and those who drain you with a clarity that used to take time and disappointment to establish. This isn't gadget. It's the natural result of regaining access to a body intelligence that always existed but was buried under too many layers of suppression and control. And when your expression starts to align with your truth, when what you show on your face begins to reflect genuinely what you feel inside, something in your presence changes in a fundamental way. Mental. Some people travel the whole world looking for charisma, looking for magnetism, looking for that indefinable something that makes certain people impossible to ignore. And they look for it in communication techniques, in image strategies, in everything but the place where it truly lives, in coherence. A face that shows what it truly feels, that expresses with honesty, even if imperfectly, what's happening inside, generates in those who see it a visceral response of trust and connection, because the human nervous system is designed to detect authenticity, and when it finds it, it responds with an openness that no calculated technique can fabricate. A liberated face is not a face that never suffers, nor a face that always smiles. It's a face that can show itself completely, that can be seen, that doesn't need to hide behind borrowed expressions or functional masks. And that freedom to be seen, that ability to show oneself without fear of consequences, is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Furthermore, a person who has regained that freedom in their own face is building from the ground up something that no external circumstance can take away. When this point is activated, when the face begins its genuine process of liberation, the changes that follow don't all arrive at once, nor in the dramatic way we sometimes imagine when we talk about transformation. They arrive like the dawn, absolutely inevitable, but completely silent in their process, impossible to stop once they've begun, but impossible to speed up either. They have their own time, their own rhythm, their own wisdom about what needs to emerge first and what can wait a bit longer. In the early days, signs might appear that initially seem small, but actually indicate deep movements in layers that have long been dormant. Perhaps you'll notice your breathing during the day spontaneously becoming fuller at times when it would have been constricted before. Perhaps you'll find that certain conversations that normally left you exhausted now take less out of you, not because circumstances have changed, but because something within you has changed the way you process what comes in. Perhaps you'll discover that your threshold for what you tolerate without internal complaint has lowered, and this might initially feel like a problem, as if you've become more sensitive or more difficult. But in reality, it's a sign that your system is regaining its capacity for discernment, its ability to distinguish between what nourishes you and what drains you before the accumulation reaches intolerable levels. Dreams of unusual intensity may appear. Dreams that feel charged with a significance you can't quite explain upon waking. Dreams that seem to come from an earlier stage of your life, bringing back places, people, or situations you thought you'd left behind. Don't try to decipher them as if they were riddles to solve. Receive them. Observe them with respect. They are the way your deep mind, the one that works below the level of ordinary consciousness, processes and organizes emotional material that has begun to move after years of stillness. Your body can also experience subtle physical changes that are actually manifestations of deeper energetic shifts, a feeling of lightness in your face and neck area, as if something you'd always worn and no longer paid attention to suddenly wasn't there anymore. Or on the contrary, moments of temporary heaviness indicating something is being processed, that your system is doing the work of integration and needs resources for it. There will also be, almost certainly, periods of heightened sensitivity, which can be unsettling if you're not prepared for it. Environments that once seemed neutral will start to have a more discernible emotional texture. You'll be able to more clearly feel the quality of the space you enter. If there's unexpressed tension in a room, if a conversation is charged with something no one is naming, if a person is okay or just pretending to be, this isn't paranoia or projection. It's the awakening of a perception that was always available, but was dampened by the very armor that protected your own emotions. When you release your own shield, you also regain your antenna, and along with that heightened sensitivity, something else will arrive. Harder to describe, but equally real, a new relationship with silence. Where before silence was uncomfortable, where it needed to be filled with activity, noise, with the permanent distraction that the modern world offers in industrial quantities, it will start to feel different. It will start to have a positive texture. It will start to be a space of recovery. Instead, this happens because silence will no longer be solely populated by what you haven't been able to express. As you release those layers, the silence clears, and in that cleared silence, something lives that many people search for years, in increasingly distant places, without knowing it was always waiting for them in the only place they never looked, with enough care. Inside, opening the threshold is not the end of the road. It's the beginning of a different way of traveling it. Because freeing your face, allowing that territory of expression to regain its fluidity and honesty, isn't simply releasing tension and moving on as if nothing had happened. It's taking on a new responsibility. The responsibility of living your truth consistently, not just in consciously chosen practice moments, but in the uninterrupted flow of every day. After this process is activated, something changes irreversibly in the relationship you have with your own internal signals. You can no longer ignore them as easily as before. Your jaw will speak to you with a clarity it won't have when something isn't right. When you're in a situation that asks for more than you can honestly give. When you're about to say something you don't feel or accept something you don't want, your forehead will contract in a recognizable way when you're carrying worries beyond the point where thought can help. When you've crossed the line from productive reflection into rumination that only consumes without resolving, your eyes will change in a way that you'll learn to detect when you're in places or with people who don't nourish your soul. When the environment is taking more from you than it's giving back. And most importantly of this new stage, you'll now have the ability to hear those signals before they become symptoms. Before you have to wait for the pain to be intense enough for the analytical mind to take it seriously. It will have become a silent master, always present, always available, always honest in a way that no one around you, no matter how well they know you, can be with you. True integration begins in the smallest, most ordinary gestures of everyday life. Every morning when you wash your face, you have the chance to do something different with that moment that is usually pure automatism. You can be there. You can feel the water on your skin, its temperature, its texture, its movement. You can place your hands on your face, not like someone who performs hygiene routine, but like someone greeting someone they have a relationship of love and respect. You can ask a silent question that doesn't need an immediate answer, but simply one that's honestly formulated. Am I being authentic today? Am I inhabiting my truth? Or am I starting another day of adaptation and borrowed expression? Not as an act of judgment towards yourself, but as an act of awareness, because the difference between living on autopilot and living awake isn't in grand gestures or monumental decisions. It's in these small, repeated moments where you choose to be present or not, where you choose to listen to yourself or ignore yourself, where you choose to treat your own face as the sacred territory it is, or just a surface that's washed and forgotten over time. As this practice integrates into your ordinary way of relating to yourself, you'll notice something that transcends any individual benefit you might have imagined when you started this. You'll notice that the coherence you've been building between your inner and outer self, between what you feel and what you express, between who you are in private and who you are in the presence of others, begins to change the quality of all your relationships. Because coherence is contagious in a way that analysis can't fully explain or even recognize. When your jaw, your gaze, and your heart speak the same language, when there's no internal war, the internal war between what you feel and what you show, when your presence is the same in the mirror as it is to the world, something within you settles in a way that people around you perceive, even if they can't name it. That perception isn't generated by your words, your appearance, or your achievements. It's generated by your coherence, your wholeness, not being divided between versions of yourself that compete to express themselves, and that is the true self-healing. The ancients spoke of when they mentioned the face as the spirit's first mirror, not the elimination of pain, because pain is an inevitable and even necessary part of the human experience, but the recovery of the ability to listen to what pain has to say before it has to scream it. The ability to process emotions as they move through you, instead of letting them settle like sediment in the tissues of your face and body. The freedom to show your complete self, without fear that this completeness might be too much for others or too much for yourself. That's not achieved all at once, nor is it maintained without practice. But once you've felt it, even for an instant, you can no longer forget that it's possible, and that knowledge, that memory of what it feels like when your face and your soul speak the same language becomes the compass that guides every decision, every relationship, every morning in front of the mirror. What you've just experienced isn't a technique, it's a memory. Your body always knew the way. It just needed permission. This space exists for those who feel that life is deeper than it seems, for those who know that within themselves there are still unopened doors. If you feel this message has resonated with you, subscribe. Be part of this community of awakening souls who remember, who return to their essence. Keep this phrase as a final seal. What is freed from the face is freed from the soul. And if you wish to support this spiritual space, you can do so via a super chat as a conscious gesture to keep this community alive, honoring inner awakening.